thought it was just a stray kitten. But the moment it entered their home, their lives began to unravel one terrifying shadow at a time. I had never believed in curses. Superstitions were just stories, things told in hushed voices by grandparents around campfires, or whispered between children in dimly lit bedrooms. I was the rational one, the one who scoffed at the idea that a cat could bring misfortune, let alone horror. But everything changed the day the black kitten appeared on our front porch. Before we continue, don't forget to subscribe if you like real horror. It was a cold October evening in a quiet suburban neighborhood of Columbus, Ohio. The sky had turned an eerie shade of gray, as if the clouds had swallowed the sun whole. My wife, Sarah, and I had just moved into a spacious two-story colonial house with white siding and a red brick chimney. It was the kind of place you'd see in a Midwest real estate brochure. Big front yard, picket fence, a swing hanging from an old oak tree in the backyard. We had dreams, plans, a future we were about to build together in that house. I worked remotely as a software developer. Sarah was a children's book illustrator. The peace and stillness of the neighborhood were perfect for our creative, quiet lives. Until that kitten showed up. It was sitting motionless on the doormat when I opened the door to grab the package Amazon had left. Jet black fur, no collar, eyes like two shining coins of pale gold. It didn't meow or move. It just stared. Something about it made the air feel heavier. I turned back to call Sarah. When I looked again, the kitten was inside the house. The door hadn't opened. No sound, no movement. But it was sitting at the end of the hallway now, just past the kitchen. Its gaze never wavered. Sarah thought it was adorable. "Oh my God, look at it," she whispered, crouching. "Poor things, probably hungry." She was wrong. We didn't feed it. We didn't let it stay. I grabbed it by the scruff of its neck, opened the front door, and set it gently outside. It hissed once, but not like an animal, not even like a threat. It sounded almost human. The door slammed shut by itself. From that moment, the house changed. It began subtly at first, lights flickering, even though the wiring was brand new. A strange scratching sound in the walls that no exterminator could find the source of. Sarah said she kept hearing whispering voices from the upstairs guest room. Then came the movement. We'd wake up and find all the chairs in the kitchen stacked on top of the table. Doors would be open that we knew we'd locked. Our dog, Bruno, refused to go into the basement anymore. He'd sit at the top of the stairs, growling at the darkness, fur-raised eyes wide. The kitten was gone, or so we thought. But each night, around 3:11 a.m. exactly, we'd hear a soft pawing at the front door. We checked the Ring camera. Nothing there, but the paw prints, wet, muddy prints leading into the hallway. That's when the nightmares began. Sarah woke up screaming one night, drenched in sweat, eyes wide with fear. She couldn't remember the details, but she said she saw the kitten in her dream. It was standing on her chest, whispering things in a language she didn't understand. Every night after that, the dreams came stronger. She began sleepwalking. I found her in the attic once, standing in a circle of dust with candles placed around her feet. We never kept candles up there. The attic had always given me chills. It was cramped, filled with cobwebs, and smelled like decaying wood and something metallic. But after that night, I had to know more. I started searching it during the day while Sarah was asleep. That's when I found the false panel at the back. Behind it was a narrow crawl space. At the end of it, a small chamber. The walls were covered in symbols I couldn't recognize, circles, stars, runes that pulsed in the shadows. In the center was a tiny wooden coffin. Inside, a kitten skeleton, wrapped in black cloth and pinned down with rusted nails. A journal lay beside it, pages brittle with age, filled with a woman's handwriting. It told the story of a 1700s coven women accused of witchcraft. One in particular who turned to dark rituals after her daughter died. She poured her soul into a black kitten, cursing it with life, vengeance, and something darker. The curse was meant to haunt the homes of the living forever, latching on to families who let it in. Sarah changed after that. She became distant. Her artwork grew darker, filled with twisted forms and screaming faces. Her eyes would sometimes look glazed, and her voice, it wasn't always hers. Once, I heard her talking in that same strange language from her dreams. She didn't remember any of it. The house was alive now. We'd hear footsteps running across the ceiling, even though no one was upstairs. The mirrors would fog up with messages backward, words like return or mine. Bruno vanished. One morning he was there, the next, gone. All we found was a trail of muddy paw prints leading into the fireplace, where the ashes had turned pitch black. I tried leaving. I packed bags, booked a hotel, but every time I stepped outside, I found myself back in the house. Like the street outside, bent in a loop. Neighbors vanished. Mail stopped coming. Time slowed. I confronted Sarah, or the thing wearing her face. She smiled with teeth, two sharp eyes too wide, and said, "You let it in. You made it real." That night, I set fire to the attic. The flames roared but didn't spread. They only burned inside that hidden room, the cursed chamber. I heard screeching, unholy sounds. The walls bled black. The kitten appeared at my feet, looked up, and for the first time, spoke. "You'll never leave." The fire went out. The house remained. Sarah vanished next. No goodbye, no scream. Just an empty bed and a single strand of black fur on her pillow. I searched every inch of the home, but couldn't find her. I kept hearing her laughter, though, from the attic. Now it's just me and the kitten. It sits in the hallway, always watching, waiting. And every night at 3:11 a.m., the pawing begins again. Months passed. The house remained unsold for a long while. No one seemed interested, despite its reduced price and perfect location. But eventually, a young couple, Tyler and Madison Langford, moved in. Newlyweds, just married that summer, excited to settle into what they called their forever home. I watched them from across the street, through the cracked blinds of a cheap apartment I'd rented after the bank finally declared me legally gone. I had vanished. My identity erased. My warnings ignored. But I couldn't leave the house behind, not with it still alive. They were so hopeful, so naive. Their first week was peaceful. Renovations began. Tyler set up a home gym in the basement. Madison started planting a small garden. Their dog, Bentley, a golden retriever, barked playfully in the backyard until the kitten returned. One night, Madison found it, sitting on the windowsill of the nursery. Same eyes, same fur. She assumed it was a stray and left out a bowl of milk. The moment that milk touched the ground, the house claimed them. That very night, Bentley started barking madly at the walls. Tyler dismissed it as raccoons. Madison started waking up with scratches down her legs. She thought it was the dog, but the claw marks were too precise, too deliberate. 3:11 a.m. came, and with it, the sound of gentle pawing at the door. Then the soft creak of footsteps upstairs. They heard things, saw shadows that shouldn't be there. Madison swore she saw a small figure dart across the hallway mirror. They found their wedding photos shredded, candles melting into pools shaped like screaming faces. I tried to warn them. I left letters in their mailbox, printed emails, voicemails, but the house always removed them, swallowed them into its walls. And when Tyler finally went into the attic to inspect the noises above, he didn't come back down. Madison found him standing in that same circle of dust Sarah had once stood in, his eyes rolled back, whispering. The kitten was on his shoulder. I knew the pattern. I knew what was coming, and I knew it wouldn't stop until the cycle was complete. The kitten was not a pet, not even a spirit. It was a vessel, and its hunger for hosts would never end. The cursed story of the black kitten deepens as Tyler becomes increasingly obsessed and Madison starts seeing the terrifying patterns from the house's past. Their reality begins to fracture, haunted by whispers, shadows, and an evil that doesn't sleep. The house is no longer a home, it's a trap. Tyler stopped going to work. He rarely left the attic now, murmuring nonsense into the shadows and drawing the same crude symbol over and over again with black chalk. Madison found dozens of notebooks under the bed, all filled with the same phrase, repeated endlessly. It walks between us. It wears the kitten's face. Madison couldn't sleep. When she did, she'd wake up gasping, covered in scratches she never felt. The nursery walls began to bleed, a dark, tar-like fluid that no cleaning solution could scrub away. All her plants wilted, food spoiled within minutes. The air itself felt denser, pressing down on her chest like invisible hands. She reached out to a local historian after stumbling upon a weathered ledger in the basement. It mentioned a woman named Eliza Grange, the same name scrawled in the old attic journal. Eliza had lived on the same plot of land nearly 300 years ago and was accused of witchcraft. When her daughter died of a mysterious illness, she vanished before the trial, but locals whispered that she had made a pact, binding her soul into the form of her daughter's pet, the black kitten she always carried. Madison tried to burn the ledger. It wouldn't catch fire. Even gasoline couldn't make it burn. That night, the kitten crawled into bed beside her. Not walked, crawled, like a broken marionette. Its joints clicked unnaturally. Its eyes were glassy, like taxidermy. She screamed, but Tyler didn't react. He was already standing in the hallway, watching her, a twisted grin on his face. Behind him, shadows slithered across the wall. She ran, out the front door, into the yard, into the street. But the neighborhood was gone. Every house was dark. The sky wasn't the sky. It was black velvet, stitched with writhing veins of red lightning. And standing in the middle of the road, waiting for her, was the kitten, now larger, human-sized. Its face still feline, but its body was changing, stretching, groaning with each movement, like old wood warping in a fire. She fainted. When she woke, she was in the attic. The circle was drawn around her. Tyler was gone. The house was silent. No wind, no creaks, just silence. So heavy, it made her ears ring. Then came the voice. You fed it. You sheltered it. Now you are it. It wasn't the kitten. It was something inside her own mind. Something using her thoughts to speak. She looked down. Her hands were black. Fur was growing along her arms. Her bones bent at odd angles. Her scream was muffled, choked back by a throat no longer human. Across town, a real estate agent unlocked the door for a new couple. "Lovely house," she said. "Been empty for a while, but it's got great bones." Behind them, a small black kitten watched from the shadows of the hallway, waiting. It didn't take long for the new couple, Emma and Blake, to notice things. A smell in the attic, the feeling of being watched, the dog refusing to enter the guest bedroom, the soft pawing against the door at 3:11 a.m. But Emma was different. She wasn't scared. She had grown up with a mother who claimed to be psychic, a woman who spoke of energy, binding forces, and ancient evil. Emma had been marked once as a child, woken with a clawed scar across her stomach after a night of fevered dreams. Her mother had warned her, said one day a creature would find her because she had seen beyond the veil. Now the veil was lifting. Emma didn't run. She studied. She stayed awake. She confronted the kitten. It hissed. She found the hidden chamber, just as the others had. But instead of fear, she entered with salt, mirrors, and a shard of obsidian worn around her neck since childhood. She read Eliza Grange's journal under moonlight. She copied the runes and burned them. The air howled. The attic walls cracked. The kitten screeched like a child in pain. Blake begged her to stop, his voice no longer his own. But Emma was ready. She completed the circle. She placed the kitten's bones into the coffin. She spoke the words that her mother had made her memorize at age 5, words in no human tongue. And the house roared. Every door slammed. Every light shattered. The sky outside turned white. The kitten screamed, and then silence. The next morning, the house was quiet, peaceful. The mirrors reflected only the present. No more claw marks, no whispers, no pawing. Emma was found on the front lawn at sunrise, unconscious but breathing. Blake was never seen again. Only a dark smear across the attic floor remained. The house went on the market 3 months later. A new family moved in by spring. The kitten never returned, but in a forgotten box in the attic, buried beneath crumbling floorboards, sat a cracked mirror with a single bloody paw print on its frame. Some say the curse was broken. Others say it waited.